Hey guys, this is Stephanie Hamley with Hamley Bake Shoppe, and today I'm in my kitchen to show you some of the recipes that we use at the shop. On today's episode, we're going to make chocolate chip cookies, the ultimate test of a baker. So if you can master the chocolate chip cookie, then you can do anything. You can do, I don't care if you can bake a 5-tier wedding cake. If you make a crappy chocolate chip cookie, then you don't suck. But this is something that you need to do. And it doesn't take a lot of ingredients, it doesn't take a lot of effort. But your friends are gonna thank you, your family's gonna thank you, and then secretly we all know that you're gonna thank me. So if you're ready to get started, let's go. So first, you want to use a stand mixer. If you want to use a hand mixer, you can. It's just gonna really work the mixer, and we want to save our appliances. So we're gonna use softened butter, and I like to mix it in the bowl first before I start adding my sugars. It's personal preference. You don't have to do that, but I just find it works a little bit easier. So we're just gonna beat the butter up a little bit, show them who's boss. Literally, like, that's as much as I'm gonna do, nothing crazy. So the next thing is we're gonna combine light brown sugar and granulated sugar. You could mix dark brown sugar if you'd like with the white. I just personally like the light brown sugar and the white sugar together. If you do just white sugar, your cookies will tend to spread more. If that's what you like, a flatter cookie, then you can do that instead. I like the fluffier, pillowy, soft cookies, so this is what we use at the shop. Gonna pour that in. And all brown sugar is granulated sugar that has been, that molasses has been added to it. So obviously the dark brown sugar has got more molasses. And it also has a stronger taste. So, you know, if you like that kind of flavor, then definitely add it. This can be incorporated into whatever that you would like. So I'm just gonna get this fluffy. My child she's my videographer. We're on a low budget if you haven't figured that out. All right, so I'm gonna just get my spatula and scrape down the sides of my bowl. And they sell beater blades that have a silicone blade on it. I'll link that down below. So, a little bit more. So the next thing I'm gonna do is add my egg. So I'm gonna go ahead and add my vanilla into my egg. That way, that's one less thing I have to do later. And I'm gonna turn that on and plop that guy right in. And I like to, after I add my egg, before it's fully mixed in, I like to go ahead and scrape my bowl again. The importance, I should say, of scraping your bowl is because the last thing you want is to get everything mixed and then you're scooping your cookies and then there's a chunk of sugar butter mix that hasn't been mixed in with all the flour and all that stuff. And what will happen is when you bake that sugar and butter will kind of just be like a volcano, and it'll not explode, but it'll melt, and it'll just still taste good. It just won't look as pretty. We're about pretty and tasty, obviously. Okay, so to my all-purpose flour, I'm gonna add my baking soda and my salt. And I'm just using kosher salt. And then this is not necessary, but I like to just give my flour a little whisk, just to get all of that stuff combined. And I'm going to dump the entire thing into the bowl without making a mess, which I did over here. And guess what? You know what I'm gonna do? My counter is clean, so I'm not worried about it. I'm just gonna scrape that in there. Bet you won't see that on a lot of YouTube videos. All right. We are real bakers. We are not prim and proper bakers. So, you know, you make a mess, you clean it up. It's all about having fun and being relaxed in the kitchen. There's nothing worse than being stressed out trying to make something for your family and friends. Okay, so before, I don't know if you can tell this in the video, but there's still some dry bits of flour in my dough. So I haven't fully mixed it in all the way. So it's pretty good and mixed, but there still is some little flour I can see that just hasn't fully incorporated. You know, most recipes, they want you to fold in the chocolate chips, and that takes a lot of effort, and I have carpal tunnel, which makes it harder on my wrist. And also in the shop, when you're doing, you know, a humongous batch, there's no way that we can fold this in by hand. It's just too much stress on our joints. So we're gonna let our machine do the work for us. So here we have semi-sweet chocolate chips. You could do dark chocolate, you could do white chocolate, you could do, you know, mix in nuts. This recipe is so versatile that you could mix anything that you wanted in there. So as long as you keep the ratios the same. So if I have 2 cups of chocolate chips, I might want to do a cup of chocolate chips and a cup of white chocolate, or a cup of macadamia nuts and a cup of white chocolate to give you white chocolate macadamia nut. Really, I mean, you could do anything. It's such a good recipe. And then I'm just gonna mix all that in, and then on the lowest speed I have, just turn it on. And then I'm just gonna let my workhorse do the work for me. And then I might lower it, kind of get everything off the paddle. Okay. So this recipe is such a good one to have in your back pocket, because you could double this, triple it, quadruple it, and it still turns out the same way every single time. And you can, so say you have a big party coming up, you can make a big batch, scoop them out all on a tray, freeze them, or stick them in the fridge depending on how much time you have. And then that way, that's one less thing, it's ready to go. If you wanted to make a big batch in the beginning of the week, and then every day, you know, at 3 o'clock when your children come home from school, you want to pop some in the oven. I mean, I'm not that kind of a good mom. I always forget. So, but if you want to be, you know, if you want to be that super cool mom, get those brownie points from your kids, you can do that. My children just come to the shop and raid the bakery case, so I guess that counts as me doing my part. Okay. So, I'm gonna get the knife out. I'm gonna just scrape my dough off the thing, whatever this thing's called. My paddle, thank you, Emma. So this cookie sheet, I can fit about 9 cookies on here comfortably. You can bake these right away if you'd like, or you can scoop them and stick them in the fridge and let them chill if you don't, want to bake them right then. One thing I suggest is if you make the dough, get you a little ice cream scoop. This, I'm not sure exactly what size this is. I think this is an 18. I don't know. I'll put it in the thing. Scoop the cookie dough. Don't leave it in there and stick it in the fridge because your wrist will scream at you later. So just scoop it up and then plop them on the tray. Give yourself some room. And if you don't have one of these, you can use a spoon to do it, or you can, the dough is really, it's a good thickness. So you can always use your hand if you'd like. So if I were to do a huge batch of this, but I would just scoop them right next to each other, fill this tray up, and then stick it in the fridge. But if I want to go ahead and bake them, I'm just going to get my cookie dough exactly how I want it on the tray, and then I'm going to stick them in the oven. Now the key to baking chocolate chip cookies is when you put them in the oven, if it says 10 to 15 minutes, put it in at 10 minutes and halfway through rotate the pan. So if I'm baking it for 10 minutes, I'm going to stick it in, and then at 5 minutes I'm going to rotate it and then put it in for another 5. And then look at the cookie. If it still looks like it's raw, give it another minute or 2. If it looks golden brown and the edges are starting to brown up nicely, take it out. It might not look like it's done to your eye. So you think, I probably need another minute or 2. No, if the edges are browning, take it out. Because once it sits out on the counter, it'll still bake internally for, a few more minutes. So then that's when you get the nice gooey center, and it's just gonna be the best flavor. If you like your cookie super hard and crunchy, then by all means, bake it for the maximum time. But most people tend to like their cookies more soft. So stick to the lowest time, because every oven is different, and then just rotate it halfway through just in case you have a hot spot. Every single oven I've ever owned always has had a hot spot. So one side of the cookies will cook hotter than the rest. So then just rotating it kind of gives you a nice even heat. But look for that brown on the edges and then kind of slightly done look on top. And if I can get the picture, then I'll definitely show that and include that on there. But I'm gonna pop these in the oven, and then I'll be back in just a few minutes. Okay guys, so we're back, and I just pulled these out of the oven, and I know it's kind of hard to tell in the video, but I'll try to have another little angle. But the cookies, you want a nice golden edge on the edge of the cookie, even though the top might not look completely done. So even though the top is not golden brown, you want the edges to be brown, and that's when you want to pull it out. It's better to have it underbaked than overbaked, unless you just really love crispy, crunchy cookies. But if you like this video, make sure you hit like and subscribe, turn that notification bell on so that you're notified when we post the next video. And until then, just keep baking.